Okay. So why we are learning this? Because in after this we are going with the polymorphism. So before going to the polymorphism, you should know what is dynamic method dispatch. Okay, it's a big term. Okay, but it's nothing is pretty straightforward. Just we have to know that. So what is dynamic method dispatch? Basically, we call it the process of assigning a subclass object to superclass reference variable is called as dynamic dispatch. Okay. What we call it? The process of assigning a, one second, Manikandan, let me admit him. Okay. The process of assigning a subclass object to superclass reference. What does it mean? So,
Reference variable.
oh, why I'm calling, so usually it's like dynamic dispatch. Why I call it dynamic method dispatch? Based on that assignment, we can dynamically call methods. So that is the reason I used to call it dynamic method dispatch. You can call it dynamic dispatch as well. Okay. Okay. So now, so let's take a structure. Okay. There is a class called A. Okay. Clear? Now it have two classes, B and C. Okay. Now B have D and B have E. Okay. Clear? This structure you are able to understand? So E, who is the superclass of E? D. Who is the superclass of D? B. Who is the superclass of B? A. Who is the superclass of C? A. Clear? Okay. So now I'm going to write a certain lines, okay, and you guys have to guess it's valid or not. Okay. So let me create a object of A first. First line A obj equal to new A. Is it valid or not?
Yeah.
Valid.
It's a valid because we are just creating object of A, right? Okay. Now A obj equal to new. This is valid or not?
Yeah, it's also valid.
Why?
Yeah.
Because we can assign.
Because the B is child class of A, and I think a parent can.
Yes. So this is the parent class reference. We can assign child class object to parents class reference. Clear? We can assign a child class object or subclass object to superclass reference. Clear? And this process we call it dynamic dispatch. Okay. This is the process. This is single line. We call it dynamic dispatch. Okay. Now we'll see again. Now again A obj equal to new D. Is it valid or not?
Valid.
I think it should be valid.
Okay, correct. It's a valid. Okay. B obj equal to new B. This is also valid. Okay. Now B obj equal to new A. Is it valid or not?
No.
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 We cannot assign parent class object to child class of reference. Clear? Okay. Now B obj equal to new D. This is valid or not?
Yes.
B obj equal to new D. This is valid.
Yes, it's valid.
Valid.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Now D obj equal to new A. This is valid or not?
No, it's not valid.
No, it's not.
Okay. Now the last one. Okay. You guys have to tell me it's valid or not. A obj. So I am creating a reference of A and I am going to assign this one. New E. Is it valid or not?
Yeah, it's valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Valid.
So now you guys got clear idea about dynamic dispatch. Basically, there is, if anywhere we are assigning a child class object to super class reference, we call it dynamic dispatch. Okay. So now by seeing this structure, you guys able to know that, okay, which object will get assigned to which reference. Okay. Now this is C, right? C is which class? C is a parent class. Okay. Let me create a C obj equal to new E. Is it possible?
Um, I don't think it's
No.
possible
Why?
No.
because it is E is not C is not the super class of E or any parent class of E, right?
Yes, correct. They are totally in different hierarchy, right? Correct. They are totally in different hierarchy. This is different, this is different. So there is no relation, right, in between these two. The only relation these two hold, okay, like they both are child of A. So A obj can hold new C. A obj also can hold new E. Clear? Okay. So
Yeah.
now we are going to learn a topic called polymorphism. Okay, polymorphism. Okay, so already we have discussed about polymorphism basics. Initially, when we are learning our OOPS concept, you guys remember, right? So basically, what does polymorphism means? So you remember, like I given an example when you get angry, right? So when you get angry in front of your teacher, the same behavior you are getting angry, but implementation is different, right? Based on the situation, right? So you are changing your form, you are changing your behavior based on the situation. So that is called polymorphism. Okay, which is called dynamic polymorphism, right? Based on the situation, we change your behavior is called dynamic polymorphism. We'll learn about that. Okay, but basically, polymorphism is one name, many form. What means? One name, many form. So this is just a polymorphism word definition. But for us, polymorphism is the ability of an object to behave differently at different situations. Let us assume you are an object, right? You laugh, you get angry, you smile, you can eat. Let's take example of eating behavior. Okay. So when we go on a very nice fine dine restaurant, the way you eat, are you guys eating similar way in your home? No, right? You guys are able to hear me?
Yeah, bhai.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yeah.
the way you
Yeah.
eat, right? If you are with your friends, you will eat in different, like still you are performing the same task, you are eating, but implementation is different. Similarly, when you laugh, right, with friends, you laugh like anything, like you laugh with your open heart. But when you go with a stranger, when you be in a professional circle, the way you laugh, it's different, right? So that is the thing. So what is polymorphism? Just take a reference from that whatever real-time example I have given, and then think about the definition. Polymorphism is ability of what? Of an object to behave differently at different situation. Correct? Okay. In Java, if anyone know what is polymorphism, simply say polymorphism is the ability of an object to behave differently at different situation. In Java, there is two type of polymorphism. How many types we have? We have two types. The what is the first type? First type is static.
Static.
What is the second type?
Dynamic.
Dynamic. Okay. So now we have two types, static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. Okay. Already you guys have know about these two. The only thing now you will map. You already completed static polymorphism or already completed dynamic polymorphism. Okay. What is static polymorphism? I will tell you. When you already define your behavior, before, let us assume if there is a situation arise, and for that situation you already have implementation. Okay. So in that scenario or that time, we call it a static polymorphism. When you very much aware about the situation before going into the situation. Okay, so it's like a static polymorphism. You know that. Okay, if this thing happen, I will do this, and this is always I will do this. It will never change. So that is called static. Okay. So there is one more definition. So before going into the static polymorphism, just I want to explain. So this is JVM, right? This is Java compiler. Let us assume if you write a code, if compile time, if at the time of compilation, compiler come to know that which method is going to map to which object. So all those type of implementation come under static. If compiler don't know that, based on the object creation, dynamically it will get invoked, which come under JVM. So which come under JVM, we call it dynamic. So what come under static? Compiler at the time of compilation, which mapping and all get completed. Method overloading. Remember, you guys remember that? So method overloading is the best example of a static polymorphism. Clear? And method overriding is best example of dynamic polymorphism. Clear? Okay. Now we'll go. This thing you guys understand or not? This, like, why it's static and why dynamic, right? So
Yeah.
if compiler identify or compiler at time of mapping, compiler have certain, if you read about a compiler basic in Google, so compiler have certain phases. Okay. So after the lexical phase, compiler come to know that which method is getting called by which variable, which object and all. Okay. So those type, because there is no dynamic object creation in, if you are having a single class, always you will create an object of that class and that method will get called by same object, right? The only thing is getting mapped which method I have to invoke. I have to invoke by this object, that is sure, but which method? Based on the parameter, it will get mapped. So at the time of compilation, compiler will clear about that which method we supposed to map to which call. Understand? But in method overloading, that is not the case. Okay, it will happen. It will totally dynamic. When we create the object, when we go to the runtime, then only it will get invoked. Okay, the mapping had happened dynamically. That is the thing. Here mapping happen static at the time of compilation. Okay. Now we learn about, so polymorphism have two types, static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. We also call it static polymorphism. We also call it compile time polymorphism. So now you know why I'm calling it compile time, and this is runtime. This is run. Okay. So this is called runtime polymorphism. Okay. Okay. Let me go with the static polymorphism. Static or compile time. Okay. So static polymorphism, if anyone asks how you will achieve a static polymorphism, how you achieve that in Java. So what answer you will give? Any one of you?
By method overloading.
Correct. So static polymorphism you can achieve by method overloading. Clear? Okay. Can it be achieved with only instance method or static method as well?
Instant and static method.
By both instance and static. Okay. Okay. So now one more thing. Static binding, also called as early binding. What is? Static polymorphism, also called as early binding. In some of the interview, like in some company, like interviewer will call, okay, what is early binding? What is late binding? So you can, when he is using the term early binding, you just understand early binding is nothing but a static polymorphism. Okay. So state like static polymorphism is also called as compile time polymorphism. Early binding, why we call it? Because Java compiler is responsible to bind the method calls with actual method at compile time. Clear? Why we call it early binding? Because Java compiler bind actual method to method call at compile time. Clear? So in method overloading, when binding happen at compile time. Clear? That is the reason we call it early binding, compile time, or static. Clear? Clear everyone?
Yes, Bhain.
Yeah. Yeah. Bhain.
So if they will ask you, okay, you explain very well. Now give me example of static polymorphism. So you just have to do, you don't have to do anything. You just create a class, math formula. You guys remember? Okay. Then you can have method add int a, int b, then close. Then in the same class, have another method add int a, int b, int c, and then close the class. So this is the example of early binding, static polymorphism. Okay. So now what about the binding? So binding is like, let's assume you are having a main class. Sorry, main method, polystatic void main. Okay. Inside main method, you have written math formula obj equal to new math formula. Okay, just focus on this. So now obj dot, one is having 2 parameter, another one is 3 parameter. Only thing is that name is same. So say add 2 and 24. Obj add 1, 4 and 5. So when you compile this code, this mapping, this and this mapping with their respective methods, right? With their respective call will happen at compile time. That is the reason we call it early binding. Okay. If it's happen at runtime, we call it dynamic binding. Clear? Okay.
Yeah.
Any question you guys
Yeah.
have? Till now, any question?
Lovely.
Okay.
So
So
far,
what,
it's
okay. So what happened? Actually, what happened? So what happened when you call obj add this one. So what will happen? So first, compiler will verify this method is there or not. If let us assume you are calling a method, this method is not definition is not found, it will give a compile time error. If it's find that method, let us assume method is available. So once method name is it's find, it's validate the parameter. Who will validate? Compiler. Ki a parameter is there or not. If let us assume if the definition is available, right here, definition is available, right? Then what it will do? Now method parameter, once method parameter will be verified, after that method will given parameter, if whatever parameter you give, if it's not available, then anyhow will get compile time error. If it's available, it will map to that, as I already explained, right? To that method. Okay. Okay. So now it's similar to whatever method overloading is there. Overloading is there. We already been through, right? All of the topics. So it's similar to that. If anyone asks early binding, just explain him method overloading. Okay. So now we are going to dynamic polymorphism. So dynamic or late binding or runtime polymorphism. Clear? Dynamic or late binding or runtime polymorphism. Okay. So now the question is how we can achieve dynamic polymorphism? Any guess? Like you guys know already?
Method overriding.
Yes. So
Method
dynamic polymorphism we can achieve with the help of method overriding and dynamic dispatch. See, why I am saying dynamic dispatch? If dynamic dispatch is not there, how you know that? Like how you switch the implementation, right? Okay. Okay. So clear. One more thing. A static polymorphism we can achieve in both the ways, in with instance method and with a static method, right? You remember, like I have a point here. I've written binding both by both the methods, static and instance. Dynamic polymorphism can be only achieved by instance method. Clear? Okay. So we call it runtime. Why we call it runtime? We call it runtime late binding. Why? Because JVM is responsible to decide which method will be invoked based on actual object available in the reference variable. Clear? So who is responsible? JVM is responsible to call method based on which object reference hold. Okay, clear? So already we have practiced this, right? Kritika, Manikandan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, so any if you guys have any doubt related to method overriding, you have to see that video. I will upload like tomorrow. I will not take classes. I will upload all the I think 3 4 videos I have not uploaded. Well, last week I was pretty busy, but tomorrow I will not take class. I will do this thing first, so that Monday onwards I will upload regular videos because you guys not have reference, right? Okay. Okay. So any question you guys have, you can ask. Okay, because method overriding example already I have given, so no need to give. So you clear about method overriding, method overloading, polymorphism, right? No issue. Any suggestions, any things you have, so you let me know. I will do it for you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
So no question, nothing.
It's clear. So far,
Yeah.
it's clear.
Okay. So next class, I think we will done with polymorphism. Then what will abstract and interfaces we have. So next class we'll have abstract class, abstract method, interface. We are very near to finish this up. Okay. Then we'll start with advanced core Java. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Bhaiya.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhinav. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhaiya.